Hello everybody and welcome back to Ant Holleufer. Changing the setup a little bit only because I normally use the natural light from the sunlight in my window, but we are in Denmark and we don't always have sun. So I guess I'm trying to get a backup plan to see if this works. Let me know in the comments below. Does this work? Does it not work? I feel like it's not really correct. But that's not why we're here. Because you're probably here since the title, which I haven't decided on what is yet. But no matter what, it's kind of clickbait title, I'm sure of. And it is because my Camponotus Vegas colony is dead. So I'm gonna start off with a short recap of the 5 episodes that's been on this series, while I talk a little bit about my mistakes, and then after the recap I'm gonna talk about how it looks today and what I did wrong and how you can learn from it. Episode number 1. So in episode number 1 I didn't really have anything. I gave them a fly and the ants reacted pretty weird, but to be honest, not anything to say except it's just an update and an introduction to the colony. Episode number 2. So between episode 1 and 2 there were actually a whole hibernation period between them, so around 4 months or something. And I decided that the test tube water was starting to get little bit yellowish, so I wanted to move them out of the test tube. And right now they were just situated in the test tube in the outworld with some tinfoil above. And right here I actually made my first mistake, and I made the first step of killing the colony. Looking back at it today, I should have just moved them into another test tube and not tried to move them at all. I also tried to move them into a nest that actually required a pretty high humidity for it to work, as far as I know. I'm still not very sure. But this is the first real mistake I made, and the first mistake to why the colony is dead today. And through episode number 2, the ants didn't want to move, but instead they blocked up that test tube since it was now exposed. So they took some small rocks and put it in the test tube to try to cover up the nest entrance. Episode number 3. So in episode number 3, I stress moved them out of their test tube. Again, another mistake, shouldn't have done that. But it was because the water of the test tube had turned yellow and I just got scared. So I placed the test tube inside of their nest because it could just fit in there, and made them move by using light and stuff like that. And I also made a little pre-hole in the dig fix that they were moving down into to kind of make them move down. And after a few days, the queen moved down there, but she couldn't fit since she was too big. But while all the ants were outside of the test tube, I took it out. So now they had nowhere back but to go down in the nest. And again, a little bit of a mistake because I shouldn't really have done any of this. And when I was recording the queen hiding in the nest entrance, a worker actually bit her since she was trying to get down, I think. And that really just made me realize my mistake. Episode number 4. So in episode number 4, the queen has laid a lot of eggs. The problem was that the workers took the eggs down into the nest that they still haven't dug really, except for around 3 to 4 centimeters straight down. And every time I came to look at them, they took all of the eggs up, and the queen was also just situated on top of the nest instead of inside the nest. And this was when I started to read upon the species for real. I read that they could use a cork nest instead of this, and they wouldn't really recommend using this as a nest. So I tried to give them a cork nest, but they didn't seem interested except for walking a little bit around inside of it. Episode number 5. So once again, between episode number 4 and 5, there were a few months in between. I really read a lot about the ants and something I should have done from the beginning, and I realized how dumb I have been doing the whole series. So the queen has just kind of been sitting in the tubing between the outworld and the nest, and sometimes she was down the nest, but never really moved into the nest, so I don't quite know why they didn't dig in it. In episode 3, when they initially moved out of the test tube, they dug a little bit, but they never decided to dig fully into the nest. After just watching the colony for a few months, I also noticed that all the eggs have died out, And I thought, okay, that's probably because they are stressed since they can't be inside the nest and they're just sitting in this tubing and it's exposed to the light. Sometimes I did put some tinfoil around to see if that helped, but just didn't. So it was just exposed to the light. So I moved them into a test tube, and this is where they are now. And right when I published episode number 5, all but one worker was alive. So the colony was now down to 1 queen and 1 worker and 4 eggs, I think. And it didn't look good for them. Episode number 6. As you can hear, this isn't the voiceover anymore. That's me. And episode 6, yeah, the queen is dead. So the other day I gave the colony a fly, because most people suggested that I should try to give them some smaller protein or some sugar water. And I discovered that the queen she was laying upside down and she wasn't in a good condition. And I decided to record her and she immediately got better, but the day after that she was dead. But what did I do wrong? That's what most of us will be thinking now. Not most of you, but if you have a colony that died, what did you do wrong? And well, I did a few things wrong. The first real big thing was definitely that I took them out of the test tube and forced them a little bit to move into the nest, not at the beginning. But just this whole thing with the test tube, I mean, I don't know why I was so upset with getting them out of the test tube, since the colonies should be in the test tube till it's a bit larger. I know when I got them there were the workers that maybe should have been a bit more workers, but it was okay. But I should have just left the test tube beside the outworld so they could wander into the outworld when they needed something, and I should have done that until they grow way too big for the test tube. Or if the water turned yellowish, I should have just moved them into another test tube. But I didn't, and I moved them into the outworld in a test tube where I put tinfoil on top. And personally, I didn't like the setup. I wasn't a big fan, and looking back at it, I can't even remember why I did it. They were in the perfect setup, and I moved them out of it. Can't remember why. I shouldn't have done it, that's all I know. And my biggest mistake from all of this ant keeping experience with the Camponotus Vegas colony was definitely that I didn't do the proper research. I feel very stupid looking back at it today. I have just ordered a Camponotus Hercules colony, both because they are local to my area and I wanted actually to get a queen, but also because I now know how to care for a Camponotus colony, or I know what you should do instead of what I've done. So there will be a new colony coming soon, and it isn't just because this colony died. I did want to get that before. So to make my mistake a bit more short and simple, 1, I didn't do the proper research. I just went out buying a colony because it looked big, and the ant store said it was a M to large species, a medium to large species, and that's the main reason why I bought it. Never do that. Do the research, because I expected not a fast growing colony, but I don't know. I shouldn't have done that. It's just what I'm left here wondering. I don't know why I just bought a colony without thinking of it. But then after that initial mistake, the main mistake has been that I've tried to move them from a test tube too soon into a nest that since I didn't do the proper research on the species. I didn't know that they didn't like the nest that what they would get, so of course they didn't like it, as the research says on the ant store, and I didn't realize it before it was too late, when the workers had dying off, and I did the research and I recognized my own mistake. But that's how ant keeping goes. You learn while you're doing this. I mean, I learned a lot with the Mesa colony. I learned a lot here with the Vegas colony now, and these 2 colonies have been kind of the 2 main colonies from the past half year, I think I would say. And I just bought them without really doing the research, and today they're both dead. And that's kind of my lesson to you guys, to all new ant keepers who are watching this. I know we have some very experienced ant keeper, and I love that you're helping me. And you probably have some similar incidents, I don't know, but do the research before you get the colony, because you will probably end up with a big mistake on the way if you don't do the proper research. The past 4 weeks I've just been reading so much about different ant species that I would like to keep. Exciting project coming up in the future. And do the proper research before you buy the colony. So yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in another video. Bye!